Hi, and welcome to another video brought to you by the Inner West Youth Network. We're a bunch of youth groups trying to answer your big questions about Christianity, God, the Bible, and everything in between. This week's question is, what difference does being a Christian make? And if you haven't watched last week's video, it talks all about what Christianity is. It's a really good foundation for understanding this one, which is kind of the next step. So please go and watch that if you haven't already. But to talk about today's topic, you might have questions like, well, can Christians go to parties, or are they able to be certain ways online? Why do I have to be accountable to someone? While we might not answer those specific questions, we really hope that we'll be able to give you a principle or foundation to try and answer those yourselves or in discussion with a leader. And we think the best place to start is the Bible. So we're going to open up to Romans chapter 11, verse 33. If you have a Bible nearby, please open it with me. I'm going to read it and then we'll just chat about what it says. Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing out. Who has known the mind of the Lord? Or who has been his counselor? Who has ever given to God that God should repay them? For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
And so I guess the first part of that, the answer to that question of what difference does being a Christian make, is that we believe in God. It seems like a kind of obvious thing to say, but it's a really fundamental and core thing that we believe. And that we believe in that God that Paul draws out here, the God who from and through and to all things are made. And the God whose glory lasts forever. You might have heard people throw around the term that, like back in my glory days, because the time when people admired them or whatever it is has passed. But God's glory lasts forever. And so God is just so heckin' good. Like that is the thing that we fundamentally believe that will really be different to the people around us and the things that they believe about the universe. And
yeah, and that's kind of the first part of the passage that we explored, and then Paul hits us with this big therefore. So we look at God's amazing, what does that mean for us? And Paul says we should live as living sacrifices, which I think sounds pretty brutal, and it is a little bit brutal, but we can understand it a bit better if we talk about an order of loves thing, which is where you kind of rank the things that you love top to bottom, or just kind of the first few. It gets a bit grey after that. But you put God first, right? So it doesn't mean that we sacrifice everything we love. It doesn't mean you give up Nutella. It doesn't mean you give up Rocket League or your friends. Yeah, praise the Lord for that one. What it does mean is that we know which things we're going to give up if we have to. So it's not going to be easy because we love our friends, we love Rocket League, whatever it is. But if there's something that makes us choose between serving God or serving our family, we're going to choose God, or serving our family and serving our friends, or like Rocket League or something, we're going to choose our family. Like it just helps us make those decisions, even if they're really hard to stick to. It makes things a bit clearer.
And that doesn't set the bar low. Like that doesn't say, just kind of figure it out and vibe it out as you go. It actually is really hard to, flip the way that we view the world, because so naturally we're on about ourselves and we're self-interested. We want to put us as number one. And God isn't some cruel taskmaster who gives us an impossible task. He actually gives us the toolkit to be transformed and to do that. He gives us the Spirit living inside of us, which is mind-blowing when you think about who God is and who the Spirit is, that he was there as the world was created and helped out with that. The Spirit of God lives in you, so a great thing to do if you don't know what to do, or if you don't know what difference being a Christian makes, is to pray and ask that God might make sense of what it looks like to live his way. And he also gives us each other. What a gift it is to have one another. It's so good. And so a great thing to do as well is to be accountable to your mates. Like actually make plans about what it will look like for you to live a transformed life under him, and to say that out loud to someone.
Yeah. So we've got two big tools, God with us in the form of the Spirit and each other. And the third thing to remember is it's okay if we make some mistakes. So God has saved us by grace and not through the works that we've done. So when we screw up, that's okay because God's already paid for that in Jesus' death. So I think it can look like, when you ask what difference does being a Christian make, it can look like, well, I have to follow these rules, it's going to be a pretty crappy life. But actually it's a life full of freedom where we get to live out our life, our thankfulness to God for his generosity. And when we screw up, that's okay as well because he's already paid for that.
Yeah, so good. So what makes a difference is actually what Jesus has done for us, and that we now have the Spirit within us if we trust in him, that God himself is on our side and helping us in how to live. We're going to see how some of our leaders from our youth groups have tried to live their lives in some specific ways. We're going to watch some videos now together.
Hi, my name's Isobel, and one of the many ways being a Christian has changed my life is the lens that it gives me for thinking about the future. I remember in year 11 and 12, a lot of friends just being so worried that they'd make a wrong choice or like get a not good mark or whatever, and that it would like just ruin their future. But I remember in that time especially, but afterwards as well, that the reassurance that God has planned my steps and that he's given me this brain and the situation that I'm in and these two little hands, and that he has a plan for me to love and serve him in whatever context I end up in, was just such a reassurance. I couldn't make a wrong decision if I prayerfully gave it to him and did what I could with what was in front of me.
Yeah, sometimes being a Christian isn't the easiest thing. It can be a pretty rough time sometimes. But we read in Galatians 5, and as we've been saying, that the Spirit lives in his people, that through Jesus we can have the Spirit. He gives gifts, and it's a beautiful picture of what the Christian life can be like. But before that, we also read how it can be really tough, and actually what our human nature, our flesh wants, is often at odds with what the Spirit wants. That it's like we're fighting against God within ourselves, and the Spirit helps us to listen to God and to what he wants. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy or clear with what to do. So we hope that we've been able to help you with these examples to have some principles and ways to guide your life as a Christian. So are you ready to live as a living sacrifice, to continue to listen to God and let the Spirit help guide you in those tough times? We're going to hear from someone who's been a Christian for quite a while and what it looks like for them as they reflect on their life to live as a Christian and what difference that's made for them.
My name is Ed Vaughan, and I've been a Christian 40 years this year. And if I had to choose one benefit from being a Christian, I think it would be that it gives me a really clear sense of why I'm here on this planet, what the purpose and meaning of my life is. And the scriptures tell me that purpose is to know more and more about God and to love and serve the people around me more and more as well. Sometimes I've paused and thought about what my life would be like if I didn't know Jesus, and to be really honest, I think that's it makes me shudder. Actually, I think it could have been pretty terrible, actually. And so I am so grateful that I do know Jesus, and I am so grateful for the difference that it makes in my life.
Hit that like and subscribe button if you found this helpful, and we would love to see you guys encouraging one another as you love Jesus. Go out and love and serve the Lord. In the name of Christ, amen.